Hi there. I am Lisa Davis, aka Litecoin Lisa, and I'm going to share a little bit about my crazy day today with the banksters. And thank goodness Johnny Litecoin's here to help us figure out how to beat the bad guys. So we'll be right back after this. All right, Johnny, I need your help. I'm calling in the big guns. I had a crazy day today fighting the banksters all day. Just between our broken court system, trying to hold liars accountable, and then having to deal with jumping through these hoops with the banksters. I just thought I was going to pull my hair out. I started happy hour early, a day early. I'm like, I'm just so frustrated. Like, this system is so broken. And then I was talking to this amazing lady, she's working there. She's just trying to explain to me how the system's working, why I need to be careful, why the way it's set up, that they can't cash, even though this person that I don't trust wrote me a personal check. And I'm trying to cash the check because I don't trust this person. So I just want the cash. So I go to that person's bank and I'm like, I'd like to cash this check. And they're like, well, do you have a bank account here? And I'm like, I don't want that going in my account, because then she warned me. She said, the thing is, the reason that we do that is that if for whatever reason that check doesn't clear, then it puts you on the hook for that amount. So I'm like, what? She's like, yeah. So the reason we do that, we don't cash this check. We can't cash this check because that person, if we cash this check right now and give you this cash, that person could be giving that other people multiple checks today.
Double spending. They could be doing a double spend.
Exactly. And so she said, we can't do that. And she said, so what we would do is even if you both had accounts here, we would put that check in your account, but we would make you wait a whole day to make sure that that person didn't give that money to someone else. And then tomorrow you could come and you could take that money out. And I said, well, I'm going out of town. I can't do that. I'm trying to get some things paid. That does not work for me. And she's like, well, that's just the way it goes. And I'm like, this is so wrong. So then I had to call this person I do not trust. And I said, she goes, what you need to do is get a cashier's check from this person. I said, great, I'll get a cashier's check. So call this person I do not trust, have to have a difficult conversation, then more inconvenience, get a cashier's check. And then I think, well, it's a cashier's check. So then I go to my bank. Well, because then my bank says, well, because this cashier's check is not written on our bank, we have to put on this amount.
Isn't that the point of a cashier's check?
Yes. So I'm like, I go, no, just give me that back. And so then I take that cashier's check, go back to that person's bank that the cashier's check is written on. And then I'm treated like a criminal and told,
of course, sure.
And this lady is so nice. I mean, she's just working there. She's just explaining to me all the hoops and the broken system that exists. Yep. And she's like, I'm going to have to ask you all these questions for reporting because that's just what the system says. And I'm like, no, this person owes me money by the law. And this is a check that is a cashier's check that your bank guarantees that is written to me. And here is my identification. Here is 2 forms of my identification. Give me my money now. I want the money. Give it to me. And
It's all because we don't have sound money, Lisa.
it is.
We need
And then
sound money.
they start asking for even more of my personal information. And I'm treated like a criminal. And then it's going to be reported to another 3-letter agency, all this other information about me and about my business. I'm like, this has nothing to do with my business.
Sure.
And I'm just like, it's just so criminal. And I am just so pissed off about it. And it's because someone else is a liar. Someone else didn't keep their promise. Someone else, did the wrong thing, that then hours of my day, all this kind of bull crap goes on all day long. And I'm like, this is so wrong. And I'm treated like a criminal. My money, my assets are kept from me. I have to jump through hoops. I'm treated like a criminal. Like, it's so wrong. And it just makes me want to go opt out and live in the woods and put all my money in DeFi. Like, I'm so mad.
Yeah, it's a the stress of the banking system is the worst thing. That's what led me to that passion and that energy for Litecoin when I first started. I was running around. I wanted to tell every business about it because I was like, this is a solution to what the problems we've been having. You don't have to deal with this problem. Your money is your money. If you send it, they receive it. No one has to wait. No one has to worry. It's peer-to-peer. I was like, oh my God. So the stress of working in that system, Lisa, on the payment side, I had to be the bearer of bad news to somebody every day and tell them, sorry, we can't approve your account. They don't like the nature of your business. They're holding your money for this reason.
Right.
And it ate me.
That's why I felt so sorry for that lady. Like, I'm sitting there, like, I was shaking. I felt like, when Sidney Powell was like, gonna unleash the Kraken, I was that righteous anger, pissed off. Like, Charlie was standing sideways because he was like, she's mad. Like, I was mad, damn mad. And I'm like, okay, it's not this lady's fault.
That's the problem with the banking system, right? Like, there's like good people that work in it and they're trapped in it, but it's an evil system and an evil entity. It's just like the healthcare system. They are like this, and they always mention the medical industrial complex, the military industrial complex. What I say sits on top of them all is the banking industrial complex, right? This is what is the evil entity of it all, this banking industrial complex. And,
the fact that they can't even trust themselves, the fact that I'm coming in there with a check from an account written at their bank, and she can see the amount in this person's account. And I'm like, no, you can see whether there's money in there or not. And you could immediately and she's like, well, no, because it won't till it all clears tonight, because that person could go use their debit card and that wouldn't come in because it's not real-time transactions and all that.
Exactly. It's not real-time settlement. The system's broke. The plumbing's broke. Gus Weir pointed this out, and he pointed it out in 2019. He kept telling us that the system was going to fail. It was going to fail. He pinned it down to the week when that repo market blew apart.
Who is this? I missed what you said.
Gus Weir, when he was in 2019. he kept saying how the system was gonna fail, and how everything was kind of coming to a head. And then the repo market blew apart in, I think it was September 17th, 2019, and they could not get it under control. He pinned it down to like the week. Like he was like on, like he had that timeline he had back then. And that's all the plumbing and the settlement of the system. So I'm thinking that they can't have real-time settlement because there's too much fraud in the system.
Well, that would make sense. I mean, that whole between the derivative marking, the fractional reserve
Yeah.
lending, I mean, oh, I'm just still so mad about the whole thing. And I just think, like, how many people are cheating the system every day? So think about how many people are probably doing that. How many times a day are they double spending? Forget double spending. How many times are they, quadruple spending or paying multiple people, and how then screwing,
There's a staggering amount of fraud, and for me, it was a combination of the stress of the banking system,
yeah.
but then with seeing all the fraud, and I was going home every night. I didn't know about Bitcoin yet. I mean, I heard of it, but I didn't know about it. And I went home every night scratching my head. I was saying how is this thing gonna last? Like the system.
Yeah.
I kept saying to myself, there's so much fraud that goes on. And I was like, these people don't give a shit.
Well, and that's it. The whole I mean, like when I was at my bank and the girl just took the cashier's check and she just put it in her drawer and she's like, well, we're gonna have to put a 5 to 7 day hold on this. And I was like, no, give me that back. And she just assumed that I'd be okay with that. Like she already had it stuck in her drawer. I was like, if you already knew that, you should have said that up front. That should have been the first thing you said to me before you started typing anything in on your computer or processing anything like that. But they assume that because all the sheeple are so helpless without the bank systems, and they just go, okay, whatever you say, bankster, whatever you say. I don't have another option.
There's no other option.
No, and now we have another option.
We do.
Yes.
We do. And it is from DeFi, and which runs on top of cryptocurrency. And Bitcoin is great. Litecoin is great. I mean, I'm a sound money guy, and I always say those are the true cryptocurrencies. But without DeFi and without all this peer-to-peer stuff, Bitcoin and Litecoin don't solve that much because we still rely on all the banksters to sell it to us. It's kind of like, okay, we're great with our Bitcoin. And that's what actually a lot of these maxis want. That's why I always say I question their motives, and I say they have a bad agenda, because they're so against DeFi and Litecoin and all this other stuff. And it's like, look, we're trying to give people options that are run parallel to the banks and empower people. Right. You guys are saying, just buy your Bitcoin through the banking system and use the banks and everything else. Hodl your Bitcoin, spend it, you're an idiot. And it's like, well, that doesn't solve anything. If anything, that makes a worse system, because that just gives more money to less people, and it's that's a shit system, you know what I mean? So it's it's this decentralized finance. And I think we were talking about it the other night, Lisa. I know we've mentioned it before, how look, the more powerful this gets, the banks are going to start having to pay interest to their customers.
Yes.
So what a great thing it's going to be for the public if, General Joe or Mary on the street that, forget, maybe they might buy a couple $100 worth of Bitcoin, and they're like, yeah, we're in, right? Forget ever venturing into DeFi. They're so into the regular system. all their money's in the bank. But now if the banks start paying them interest, it's just a good thing for all citizens.
Well, that's how it used to be. One of my good friends, she just turned 70, and she was over the other day, and she's like, that's my parents. That's how my parents were. She's like, I remember my parents, they made money and they put it in the bank because they earned interest on that. And she's like, I remember my parents earning interest from their money in the bank. And then I was showing her our class from the other night, on, let's see, on that we did for Patreon. So if you guys join our Down the Rabbit Hole with Lisa, I'm having monthly classes. Johnny did our very first class. It was 2 hours long. So it's now on there for anybody that's on the $20 a month, Down the Rabbit Hole with Lisa Patreon level. Is amazing class. I've gone back and watched it already once another time, just because it's a great resource. If I forgot something, I'm like, okay, where were we on that? It's really empowering. And I was showing her just the lend part, and we're just on that one wallet. The wrapped Litecoin was making, I think, almost 4%. Yep. She's like, oh my gosh, she got all excited. I was like, oh no, that's nothing. Like, look at some of these other options.
Check out the WASP token in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was crazy. Yeah. But she's like, Lisa, no, she has like I don't know if it was a CD or maybe just her account. And she's like, the bank is paying me like 0.00 something percent on, thousands of dollars. And she's like, and and then I was talking to her about fractional reserve lending. They're holding her money and lending it out, up to 10 times. We know that that's what fractional reserve lending is.
There's a term in the banking system, Lisa. I don't want the thought this in my mind. It's called basis points, right?
Okay.
So you only talk about this term when you're dealing with a number that's under 1%, right? So 10 basis points is 0.10%. 50 basis points is 0.5% or 0.50%, right? So 7 basis points, 0.07%. So this is a big term in the payments industry, banking industry. The reason why the numbers sound bigger. Oh yeah, I'm going from 7 basis points, 14 basis points. You're thinking of 14. Oh, I'm getting 28 basis points. Beat that. It's like, that's 0.28%. You schmuck. But it's changing people's thinking. It's definitely, it's sick where we've came, because the thing is, the common man would say, well, they can't pay us interest anymore because look how low like the Fed funds rate is. That's complete bullshit. The banks should pay interest based on the profit that they make. That's how it used to be. And they're making record profits, so they should be paying out record interest. Right. It's a corrupt system. We know that.
It's so broken. And so I was showing her this. I was like, this is all about that personal responsibility that I keep talking about, that, we can take possession of our wealth. We can take personal responsibility for our wealth, for our health, and for our safety. And this is what all of this is about. And this is where I get and I guess this is where, Amy and I were talking on Tuesday, and she said, I will not forget, like over a year ago where we were saying, like, what's it going to take? What's it going to take? And I was like, it's going to take pain. People don't move until it's painful. And I don't know at what point it's going to be painful enough. But like today was really painful, and I got really angry, and it's very motivating to get even more out of that broken, corrupt system. It just makes me so angry to be mistreated and treated like a criminal. And when I'm the one that has been wronged, I'm the one that has been lied to and had my property stolen from me for years now and all this. And then I'm the one that's, run all over town and questioned and, treated like a criminal. And I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the criminal is running around town and
Right.
without, a care in the world. Oh, it was a rough day.
No, you're right though. It does take pain, but once people get that pain and they uplift themselves
Yeah.
and they get themselves where they say, you know what, I'm not connected
Enough.
to that system anymore. Enough's enough, right?
Enough.
And it's not that they're not going to use it. You don't have to become unbanked. It's just that mentally you say, screw them. I'm not relying.
I'm going to use you.
I'm going to use you. Yes, I'm going to use you now like a little piece of crap to my advantage, right? Now I'm the bully against you, right? It's time for us to push back. And that's the thinking that we have to have. And that's how we win. Because I feel like in the beginning with crypto, it was too much to tell people, become unbanked. That was so scary to people. It's like, become unbanked. It's like, what am I going to go become a freaking alien and like move to Mars? But it's like, how do you tell people, look, have a plan, have your money coming in, move most of your assets out of that system into hard money, into other things. Now you're not reliant on that system. Now you're using them to your advantage, right? Whenever you have to, you're just using it straight to your advantage. Now you're more like content.
Make them your secretary. Yeah.
Exactly.
They can go pay your bills.
And then you find when you do it that way, you need to use them less and less, because if you're more in crypto and you're more in this other stuff.
Oops. I got to show my watch. I got my new watch, and I've got my new band put on today at the jewelry store. That was the best part of my day. I have to tell you, I got to have lunch with my beautiful daughter, and went to the jewelry store with her and my hubby, and got my new Litecoin watch and my new band on it. So
look at it. Great watch, Lisa. Look at it this way too. With your now, you got to be educated more about how they operate.
Oh yeah. She would, and that's the other thing I really appreciated. She could see how upset I was, and that I was really, I was asking all those questions. I'm like, why? And she was like, okay, well, because he could go spend that money, even though you have this check. And yes, I'm telling you the money's in there, which she probably wasn't supposed to tell me that. She's like, but he could also today go spend it on a debit card, or he might have written 3 checks to people for that amount.
I thought the point of the cashier's check is though they place a hold on the money in that.
So that then and that's where she gave me the advice to go get the cashier's check.
Right.
And that's where
I don't get.
I'm like, so how do I do this? Like,
and that's where you don't get why the hold period then at your own bank with the situation. It's like,
well, so then
in order to get it, they have to place a hold. Like,
so the reason is because that was a different bank, because it could have been a what is it called? Not fraudulent, like a what is it called? A fake,
like a rubber check. That's going to bounce.
Yeah, or like a fake. What is it called? I'm just totally blanking on what a fake
check.
Counterfeit. Thank you. It could have been a counterfeit cashier's check. So that's why they put a hold on it until it clears.
What was I going to say? A thought came to my mind, but now it slipped in my anger of the bank.
I know. I've been like that all day. I'm like, I'm just. And that's why I was late, because I'm like writing my attorney an email, and then you're like, hey, show today. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I just got in the house, and I'm like trying to write this email.
That's what I wanted to say. So let's review some of the stuff they do to businesses, right? So one tactic that I always have seen them do, and I've talked about this before, but we'll bring it up again since we're on this subject, is when, say, there's fraud on an account, or there was a situation where the business has to change their account fast. What'll happen is they'll the payment processor, and this was a situation I would be in, they would contact us and say, hey, my money now is going to a new bank account. How do we change this with you guys? Like, we had an issue with the old account, right? And we would say, oh, we would need a picture of a check of like, and we would say write void on it or whatever, or don't even write.
Okay.
We need like a picture of a check with the business name. And they
Right.
say, oh, we don't have that. We'd say, look, go to the bank and have them write you like a letter. And we would send them a picture of the letter. We'd say, this is a sample letter, kind of standard. The banks knew that we would need this letter. So
I remember you telling me about this.
And they said, hey, don't send anybody this letter, right? When people come in now for this letter, it's because they have to update it with the credit card processor. Now, not only are we not going to send it, we know that they're not going to get their money. Now we're going to send our sales rep in from the bank to try to sell them the credit card machine from us.
So it triggers the bank to get their own sales.
Exactly.
And it makes the bank hold their money.
Yes.
So the bank's now earning interest on their money.
Well, so
right?
Basically what it does, it's like they lit a fire it's basically like they set a fire in the business, and the fire in the business is, hey, you're not getting your money anymore. And that's a fire. If you're a small business, you need your money every day. If not, it's like the place is on fire. So they say, okay, they douse the place with gasoline, they light a match. Boom, place is on fire. Yeah, criminal, right? Now they send a sales rep there. Sales rep comes and says, hey, I could put the fire out for you. You should have had the credit card machine from the bank the whole time. Why are you with an outside company? Yeah. Meanwhile, you should be with an outside company. You don't want to be connected to your bank. You want to have the service with somebody else. You have the freedom to switch around banks. You don't want to be connected to that bank, like with everything. Like, that's stupid. So they put pressure on the merchant or the business, and it's a nightmare. So I always said that I was always the only one that could, I always tell the story about Matthew, the fictitious banker, and how I always say how we'll call up Matthew. The story
will go live.
We're going to be going live, Matthew. You're not going to be on it. And it works like a charm. You know, I've had to do it once or twice. Something's kind of similar, and it works. And
I almost had to fly you to Oklahoma today. I was like, I'm going to call Johnny. That's why I should have told him. I'm going to call Johnny.
Usually, and the worst thing is, people are became such sheep with the banks, and they usually just say, oh, no. They usually just, like you say, they give in. Oh, I guess awful. I can't have my money now for a week or 10 days. And it's like, oh my, it's just so it's.
Well, and I believe that at any time now, I mean, Monday is Martin Luther King Day, and it's January 17th. And you guys, I mean, I believe this could go down at any moment. I mean, today, the Queen, if she's even alive, denounced, renounced, took away, stripped.
I saw that.
Prince Andrew is now no longer Prince. He went from Prince Andrew to formerly known as Prince Andrew, or now he's Pedo Andrew, I guess. Yeah, got a new title. But I'm like, this is all going down really quickly. And I shared some other, stuff with you about, some drills in North Carolina, and Monkey Works had some interesting videos you guys should check out.
In order, get everything in order, get free from the banks where we say, hey, just have a plan to, you might not be able to set foot in your bank soon if you don't have the old jabberoonie. So just be mindful of that. And
Johnny, what you said before we got started about think about what were you talking about? The safe deposit box. Don't trust having things in a safe deposit box, because what if they say, well, because of the great infection, you can't come in the lobby anymore.
Yeah.
So don't hold things in that.
Yeah. Come up with an alternative plan and just alternative things. Again, that's unfortunately the banking system is kind of in its current form has kind of hit an end for the people as far as being in our best interest. They've literally went to paying us nothing, taking money. It's actually negative interest. You get
Right.
they charge us fees.
The fees.
They hold the money on us. Now we're being monitored for any transaction above $600. We've always been monitored for transactions that are $10,000 or greater, right? If you do if you do 3 or 4 transactions that are around $8,000 or $9,000 in a certain time period to the same entity, they're going to write up a SARS report, and they're going to investigate you for something called structuring, which is a violation of the anti-money laundering guidelines. This is your own money.
They don't even know.
Legitimate payments, and they're going to say you're laundering money and you're structuring payments to avoid such and such reporting.
Can you say that again? What was that calculation, or what was that triggered?
You do a few transactions that are under $10,000 in a row to especially to the same entity. They're gonna say that you're in violation of the anti-money laundering guidelines, and you're doing something called structuring, and they're gonna hit you on a structuring charge or whatever, investigate you for structuring, and that's a money laundering violation. This is being real money.
How many times has Pelosi been hit with this?
Yeah, well, so that none.
None.
And then they write up a SARS report. That's called a suspicious activity report. So that's if you go in and do a $6,000 transaction, and they don't like the hat you had on, say you were wearing a Bitcoin hat. They might say, write up a SARS report. This guy looks like bad.
Are you kidding? It's called SARS.
SARS. Yeah, it's called the SARS report, suspicious activity report.
Very interesting, since that's what the Great Infection used to be called, remember?
And then there's a lot of things that just to be mindful of. And then we're going into we're in a period of we're going to be going into a hyperinflation. So now we have these limits in place, and now the limits
but everything costs more. So
the numbers should be going up. So in other words, in the 80s, when they first started the $10,000 reporting requirement, I think it was in 85 or 86 around then, right? It was $10,000. That was put in place for money laundering. Before then, I don't think there was even such a thing as money laundering, right? And then after that was part of that was the start of all this compliance and stuff, right? So if you think about it, $10,000 in 1985, what's that equal to today? Let's just say 40,000, just for argument's sake, right?
Yeah,
$40,000 today, right? So they should have the limit moving up. They should at least say by this point in time, any transaction that's under $25,000 doesn't have to be reported, because obviously there's inflation. They have to acknowledge that, right? They're moving it in the opposite direction. They're saying, no, now we want to...
And exponentially in the opposite direction.
Exponentially in the opposite direction as a dollar's hyperinflating. All they're doing is trapping you into that system, and you won't be able to get out of it. It's when we say, and it's kind of like we're almost, figure of speech, or what's the word I'm looking for when we say the Titanic getting the lifeboat, like a metaphor we're using. But it's very real, because you are in a Titanic. You're going to be trapped, and it's getting harder and harder and harder and harder to get off of that Titanic. That's why we say, we don't want to make fiat. We got out of that system. Right. We want to make more Bitcoin or Litecoin, right? That's what we're about. We're not about making more dollar. That's like going back onto the Titanic. We got off.
Yeah, it makes me think of, there's a cartoon where they're standing on a cliff or something, and it's like they're putting weight on themselves or something on the plank, putting that fiat on yourself. Well, you're just gonna drown yourself, kind of thing, So yeah, we do not want that at all.
drowning in fiat. And then soon
Yeah.
they're going to
A
say,
gluttony kind of thing. Yeah.
and the walls are
Thanks.
closing in from all angles. It's closing in from every angle. And soon they're going to say, your brokerage account might say to you, people say, oh, no, I have a huge stock portfolio. I'm good, right? Now, I always say stocks are a good place to, as a hedge against inflation, but you don't own those assets where you have the private key, right? And that's the issue where that brokerage could say to you, we don't like who you voted for, or you know what? We found out that you didn't get the jab. You don't have a good enough social credit score. We have to shut down your account. And you know what? Because your social credit rating's so bad, we're legally allowed to hold your funds for a certain period of time. What the banking system does to people, this is a final warning to end people on, but what they do, they ultimately have the right to hold everybody's money for 180 days. That's a business. If you accept any type of electronic payment form in the United States, any type of credit card, PayPal, anything of that nature, you're signing off to them, giving them rights to go into your account, take money out of your account that they never even got in the first place, and you're giving them the right to hold it for 180 days. I've seen them go into somebody's account and take out $750,000 and tell them they're sorry, we're going to hold it for 180 days now.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm dead serious.
Wow, that should terrify everyone.
So this is real, and I've seen this. Nothing surprises me. I'm kind of like, it's kind of like someone if you just get to a battle the first day you're there, I'd assume like all the gun, everything's, you're
the
going
shock. Yeah.
You're there for years. It's just like, you're just like not even, you're so numb to it. I'm so numb to all this craziness they could do that I had to just change my thinking. And that was why I aligned with Litecoin, because I said to myself, the business I was in, the payments business, I said to everybody needed like a software. When I realized what Litecoin was, and I said to myself, wait a minute, there's no third party, there's no central authority. I can do what I want. I can tell people they can send money on here with no questions asked. This is my software. This is it. This is the software I align with, right? And now I'll use all the other stuff and I'll help people do it all. But I tell them Litecoin is what I trust. It's the most. You could do the credit card system if you want. Let me make the commission, but let me let you know of the risks. I'm going to let you know of the risks. And I'm happy to show you how to process a Litecoin payment for free and not make any commission on that payment. I'm willing to show you how to do it and me not get paid. It's that important for me to show you how to use this tool. But if you want to use the bad system, the bad guys, yes, I'm going to make money off of it because the bad guys are making money off and you want to use the bad guys. So obviously I'm going to make money from that. That was always my promise. I work in the Litecoin world for free and I'll always help people for free. I'll help show people. I'll keep doing it until I'm dead, Lisa, because it's that important. It's that important for me. But the banking world, I'm kind of like the Robin Hood of like not.
You are. I mean the energy that you had for 2 hours, and you did it a week apart. You helped my son-in-law or my future son-in-law and I, and then we did the class on Patreon, and you had the same level of, and you did a great job like walking us through the training and that class, and then going through it again a week later. And because I had gone through it first and had my wallet set up. And so then when we went through it a week later, I was able to then click the manage and collect my rewards, my WASP token, so we could see what the spoils were of my, $200 of Litecoin that we had left in there. And I collected my 96 WASP or whatever. And then we're able to put them in the lend. So then you can there's layers of that value that you can, and that was so empowering. And I was telling, I don't know if I said it I think talked about it with Public yesterday, that this year I'll be 50. So I'll be 50 in October. And I did some goal setting earlier this year. So one of the things that I want to do through Team Mighty and is try to set up something. And I think that using DeFi and what you've taught me, that we can help women escaping abusive marriages, or like learn DeFi and be able to set this up to where, like, maybe we give them through a smart contract or something, some kind of little nugget or loan, teach them this, and then they can have this, to be able to put a down payment down on a rental house or apartment or something, or maybe they need that down payment for their attorney fee or whatever, and then learn the DeFi, and then be able to, after a year and, the divorce is over and whatever, then be able to put that investment amount or that first back in to help another person that might be in that same situation.
And the thing
so
is, the advantage of helping other people
really
too,
help.
it's like you're building a network of eyes and ears on the street. There's always new pools coming online. So it's like, it's like you want to tell people, it's like, hey, keep your eyes out for opportunities, send them my way, and let's look at them. You know what I mean? It's like you could only see so many things. So the more people that are involved and are keeping their eyes open, and
and I think about what Blind Dave is doing for the disabled.
Yeah.
Like, this is another thing that, because he was helping set up trusts, because when you're disabled, if you own more than, and foster children, it's the same way. That's why, like, there was a big thing, like, we were always trying to help kids aging out of foster care, but if they had more than $2,000 in assets, they would lose their medical benefits and they would lose any other benefits from the state. So, like, if they were aging out of foster care, they could still get subsidies from the state, so they could, like, live with somebody to go to college or whatever, and that way they could get, like, a subsidy to pay their rent and help pay for some of their living expenses, whatever, and maybe get their medical paid for while they're trying to go to college or do whatever. Well, if they owned any assets more than $2,000, they would lose all their benefits. Well, do you know how impossible that is? Like, that traps you in that state of welfare. It perpetuates you to be beholden to only the state and to never be successful. And that's what the state wants. They want you to be unhealthy, unsuccessful. That's why, the people in the projects can never get out. And that's where they've perpetuated that system of, don't put your baby's daddy on the birth certificate, because then they'll go after him for child support. And they want that unhealthy family. They want that unhealthy person. And that's where the system is so broken, and they want people to be unhealthy. They want them dependent on this system instead of having healthy, self-sufficient, sovereign individuals. And it just enrages me.
It really, Blind Dave, he's an amazing story.
I love Blind Dave. Yeah.
What a story.
And so he's really helping
awesome
people.
Having him at the Jersey meetup. He's awesome. What a story, guys. If you haven't heard his story, check out his YouTube channel. If you're ever, as anybody's ever telling you they can't do it, say, you can. Look, Blind Dave, look what he did. Like, what a freaking,
and what he continues to do.
What he continues to do, my God. And he's amazing. He's awesome. And he's a brain. What a freaking genius. He's such a smart guy.
Do you know that? Well, I need to have him on and do his
Let's have him
crypto
on.
journey. Yeah, we should.
Next shows, he can come on and give everyone a story, and we can do a little reunion.
That would be awesome. I'll talk to him and see if he'll come on and share his story. And he's also like I can't remember the term, and I don't want to disrespect him and say it wrong, but it's like some kind of like super high level mechanic, auto mechanic. When my husband was talking to him, I think when we were in I think it was when we were in Dallas one time, my husband was like, oh my gosh, he's like, that's like a super like high certified level of auto mechanic, because they were talking cars the whole time. But he's brilliant, like super smart guy.
He is. He was
So,
he was great at the meet. Like had great
mhm.
stories and great knowledge. Really good knowledge.
Yes. Yeah. Amazing guy.
He was orange pilling a lot of the staff there with Bitcoin and convincing them to set up wallets and stuff. So
I love it.
he was putting in work when he was
I
there.
love it. Yeah. Not a lazy bone in his body.
No,
Yeah.
no. Well, great
Love
show
it.
today, Lisa.
Yeah. I feel better already.
Good,
Thank
good,
you, Johnny.
good. Woo. All right, good.
Your work here is done. We didn't have to fly you all the way to Oklahoma
All right,
to
good.
go kick some bankster butts. Well, thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are awesome. Thanks for contributing and being by my side when I had to vent a little bit. But you guys take personal responsibility of your wealth and your health and your safety, and make sure that your possessions are in your possessions are in your possession.
Yes.
And do the research. Consider joining my Patreon and watch Johnny's class. It was amazing. We will be doing, I'm going to do a wallet class. I've reached out to a couple people that were live in the class because we need to do some one-on-one wallet classes. If anybody is one of my $20 patrons and you need a private one-on-one for a wallet class, just message me. And we'll make sure you have your own keys in your own possession, because we don't want them sending from an exchange to a Dex.
No.
And then what was the other thing we wanted to really, I think we covered all the little must-haves.
I think that was it. We covered a lot.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
Good day. Tomorrow, my hubby and I will be traveling to Texas to Bitcoin Ben's event, and we'll see Westwood there. So if you guys are going to be down there, I'll be looking forward to seeing you. We should be there around noonish. I'm not really sure what time we'll actually get there, but it should be an exciting weekend. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there. And we are going to be streaming live from somewhere for happy hour. I don't know where Westwood and I will set up, but we'll make it happen, and should be pretty exciting. So looking forward to seeing everybody then. Thanks, Johnny. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Lisa. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Are you buying and selling cryptos on the same laptop that you're using to browse the internet, read your email, and visit social media sites? If so, you're exposing your cryptos to theft. Whenever you're online, you're at risk of getting hacked and having your identity stolen. How would you feel if someone stole all of your cryptos? What would that do to your finances? Guard your cryptos with a safe and secure laptop from Calyx Solutions. Each laptop is set up just for you and your cryptos, and then we walk you through exactly how it works. Don't risk the security of your cryptos. Order a crypto laptop from Calyx Solutions now to secure your crypto future. Learn more at calyxsolutions.io.